And you're just in time for Richard Mwenja Exclusive, your go-to point on matters political and governance analysis here in Kenya and across the region. And today in particular, we're discussing the biggest subject right now in Kenya, that is the impeachment of DP Rigathi Gachagua. The other day we saw the National Assembly voting overwhelmingly for his impeachment, and we want to understand how is this likely to pan out in the fullness of time. But who better to help me bring such conversations home than this renowned think tank? Former Minister, Honorable Ruto Arap Kiro.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, it's my pleasure always to be with you and to enjoy the moment. You know, every day we're rewriting our history in the sense that this impeachment for me is important for one or two reasons. The first reason is that we are testing the 2010 Constitution. We are also testing the tenacity of institutions in Kenya to understand whether we respect institutions or it's going to be the whim of an individual to emasculate all institutions of government. I would be very keen to see how things will move at the Senate, and even subsequent to that, I would recommend to Rigathi Gachagua to go to the Supreme Court so that we are able to look at the grounds under which he has been impeached and whether they merit the impeachment that has taken place. And we need to cast that in terms of public perception. How are we testing each other? When you become a running mate to an individual, what does it mean? Are you peer? Are you co-leader? Or are you just an individual who can be dispensed with at any time? And also, we need to test this called public participation. How is it captured? How is the information collected and collated? So that at the end of the day, when we say the impeachment was supported by the public by 66%, is that the truth? Is that the true position on the ground? Or is it just the imagination of those who may have the upper hand for the time being?
We are going to unpack your concerns one after the other, but let's begin with what you've mentioned. That is, this is a time whereby our constitution is being put at test. And if you look at how Rigathi Gachagua was fronted an opportunity to defend himself before the National Assembly, and how now the entire procedure was conducted before House Speaker and members of Parliament, when it comes to the Constitution and particularly upholding the grounds for national justice, equality and fairness, would you say that they granted Rigathi Gachagua, optimum grounds for the same to be realized?
Well, it was very clear from the beginning, and I was following even the discussion as it took place in the plenary before Gachagua was invited. And it was very clear. Wetangula was biased from the beginning to the end, and therefore Gachagua was just going to slaughterhouse to be slaughtered.
His dice was already cast?
It was already cast. And I remember about 6 months ago, I told you the marriage is dead. And therefore Gachagua needs to prepare himself for the next phase of things. Otherwise, it was very clear. You're getting from some of the allies of the current president and getting from some corners that we know. Having been in government, at least there is a source of information that you can avail yourself to the occasion. And the body language of the two individuals. Remember, after the GNCs, the president needed Gachagua to cool the tempers. That's why he went all over the country. And he was preparing for slaughter. That's why I was telling him, you are being fattened for slaughter. So he took him to Nyanza, he took him all over. He started in Meru and certain parts of central Kenya. And once he realized he had cooled the tempers, and once Raila came in, he knew he has the numbers in parliament. Because minus ODM, if ODM was still in the opposition the way they were before the appointment of the five, the numbers would not have been realized. Yes, perhaps about 200 would have voted against Gachagua, but it does not reach the constitutional threshold that is required. But ODM came in and has done the deal for William Ruto. It is very clear it is actually ODM who are prosecuting the case. The way we say in English, don't weep more than the bereaved. How they were bereaved, I do not know. It worries me, and it worries many people in Kenya.
So ODM was crying louder than the widow in this case, or widow?
Oh yeah, they were crying more than they believed, and pretending to be in government or to be in the opposition, and trying to look for all manner of ways. Gachagua told me this. Gachagua said this. Really, when you want to just slaughter somebody, just slaughter him. Just say we don't need him. Don't use all manner of words. I remember there is a saying, some kind of myth that has been extended to in my community, that one time the wolf was sitting next to a stream. Then he saw a ram, a small ram, come towards the place. He told him, I'm going to eat you because you have messed the water. The ram said, no, I'm not even reached the stream. He said, you messed the day before yesterday. The ram said, no, I was born yesterday. He said, for the sins of your grandfathers and great-grandfathers, I'm going to eat you. The ram did not have any way to escape it. So Gachagua was a ram that was just being prepared for this kind of slaughter, which I believe is a test of our tenacity, a test of our national cohesion, and it is misengagement with the institutions of power or instruments of power.
It makes sense. You've mentioned of ODM MPs coming across as those who are even crying louder than the bereaved. And this far we have seen most of them play to the tune of Kenya Kwanza, or at least the tune of the president.
Yeah.
Would you say by the president emasculating opposition, by and large, he's on that path to absolute power? And probably those thinking of him as a one-term president better manage the expectations this early.
I think the president is doing a number of things. One, I think he has managed to isolate the mountain. Because when you see those who voted no, majority of them were from a Kikuyu community. So he wants to tell Kenyans, this is a community that we need to isolate. Two, he wants to create the Western Alliance. Remember the year 2007, the current leadership that we now have was largely in ODM. In the Pentagon was William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Raila himself as the captain, and that's the Western Alliance he wants to create. He realizes the only way, now that he has lost the mountain, the only way he can survive is by creating that Western Alliance and poisoning the hearts of Kenyans that don't support a Kikuyu for the presidency. Because we hear a lot of vibes, and you see it's good I talk about it freely. A lot of vibes today. They're saying, hawa Kikuyu tumeshindwa.
But that's polarizing the country.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
And if you're in that path, then we can easily slip into 207, 208. What became of it?
We just pray we don't get there, that God will intervene and do something miraculous. You know, in the history of the world, things can change in 1 year that you'll be shocked that whatever you expect this year, whatever is happening now, by this time next year, it will be the opposite. And even anybody was to write an obituary of a politician today, wait until this space is cleared. Anything can change.
So even by having Azimio MPs by his side, 2027 is not Ruto's for the taking, going by the dynamics of today.
It is not guaranteed. Remember 2007, it is said it was neck to neck between Kibaki and Raila. And there was a third factor that Eddie chosen which side to play, that would have been a guaranteed win for either side. That's Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo Musyoka either will be a king or a kingmaker in the next election, when he chooses whether to go Western Alliance or Eastern Bloc. That will be something that many people are not seeing. Remember, apart from the Bukusu of Trans Nzoia and Bungoma, the rest of Western went ODM in 2007. So anybody doing calculations now is to see how to manage Bungoma and Trans Nzoia and to see how to shift that alliance to a block away from the Western Alliance. That will be a winning team. I say this, and I'm sure I'm not far from the truth. Of course, other intervening issues may come in, including the management of the economy, including some of the shady deals that are now running amok in our midst. But the last laugh may come from Gachagua.
He could have the last laugh?
He could have the last laugh. He may not be president. He may not be anything. But he's going to be a kingmaker in the next election.
Could be vindicated in the fullness of time? Like Uhuru Kenyatta now is vindicated after he warned us against...
Yeah, and I warned them that the two of them will not last. You remember I've told you before.
True.
Yeah, I
and
told
many
them.
were skeptical about it.
Yeah, I knew the two of them have similar character. They are very combative. They don't listen half of the time.
We're going to come and look at the succession matrix a bit later on.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to President Ruto. And you've mentioned of him using and dumping now Mount Kenya region. You've worked closely with him in your many years as MP and even thereafter. Would you say that that is his modus operandi? Use and dump, or at least use and auction thereafter?
You know what happens is that he's never emotional about anything. You know, at times we think straight, but when emotions creep in, you say, "Apana wache ikai." He's never emotional about anything. It is what is in it for him.
Not even a bare sense of gratitude, a debt of gratitude to those who were there for him.
When he tells you thank you, that's the end of the story. He cannot go beyond that. Don't expect that William Ruto, when he's asleep and he wakes up at about 3 o'clock, he'll be worried, oh, what's happening to Richard? It is, what is it that I want to do with Richard? Or what is it that Richard should do for me? Otherwise, it's not about how are you. And when he tells you how are you, he calls you at 3. Before he finishes the sentence, know it that there is something he's interested in you. It's not because he was worried that you may be somewhere on the road, driving towards Kawangware or wherever.
I'm then curious to understand. So then, by fronting Raila Odinga for the AUC bid and literally setting up a campaign machinery for him and literally endorsing him across the globe, would you even say, even in that, there is something in for him and not for the national good, which most of us want to think of?
No, remember the other day when he was in Sia, he said, let's drive the rest to the opposition. We, ODM and the UDA, should form the next government, and we allow others to go to the opposition. Who are the others? So effectively, and don't be shocked that he might even dissolve UDA and join ODM. After all, he said he knows ODM better than some of the guys running the show today. And don't be surprised, because this one will happen sooner than later, that he may do some mini reshuffle and allow the position of deputy president to move from the Eastern Bloc. And if he was to do it, he will not be doing it in the long run. He'll be doing it just to cool the tempers on the ground. But eventually, I can see his alliance will be Western Alliance. Yeah.
Clearly, this far we have seen the president not only emasculate the opposition, but we also seen the parliament playing much to his tune.
Yeah.
And would then that make you be convinced that he's now the political chess master of our time, and literally anyone going to flatten him better be prepared with a little card that has never been there before?
Well, you remember the story of David and the Goliath. Goliath has everything going for him, but David was able to finish the story and become a king subsequent to that. So at times there are some things that you think you are doing very well. Even I lost the 2007 election when I least expected. I had won 4 elections consecutively. I lost when I had more money than in any other election, or in all the 4 elections that I had won before.
You were at your prime, but still lost.
I lost. So William Ruto may lose the next election. And I fear this Gachagua thing. For those who have understood the dentistry of an individual, some teeth may erupt from below the other one. And before you remove that one, you have to be careful that anything that you want to remove must not affect the next tooth. William Ruto has removed the wrong tooth. Yeah.
Just a day before he went to parliament to defend himself, that is Deputy Rigathi Gachagua, he was clear that even the shortcomings that many people are accusing him of, much of it he learned from his boss, that is President William Ruto. By going bare knuckles on President William Ruto, would you say that that was a blessing in disguise for Kenyans, because now Gachagua somewhat revealed the can of worms that is there in the government of today?
Well, I think his fate was already sealed. There was no way. By the time that motion was put on the floor, in the floor of the House, his fate was sealed. William Ruto is very unforgiving individual. Very unforgiving. I tell you because I know him. And for those who have done industrial psychology, you will know that what makes him happy is when he's baying for somebody's blood.
Always out to look for a monster to fight?
Oh yes. Remember what he did earlier on. He was fighting, you remember the issue of 411, 44 against 1, 41 against 1 in 2007. Immediately after that, he created a monster in Raila. And he started telling Raila, we need the young boys, 4,000, they were talking of a figure 4,000, to be brought back. And when he had that approach more with the Kibaki regime, in order to fight Raila, going towards 2013, we never saw the 4,000 boys, and he has never told us up to now. Then he moved. There was now a referendum against Chege. That is how they won with Uhuru in 2013. And after 2017, 2018, 2018's general election, what happened? He now created the language of dynasties. And he created Uhuru as one of the dynasties. And therefore, that became his rallying call. The bottom-up issue was the guy from the bottom must rise against the dynasty. So after this, now Rigathi has become his punching bag because he wants to excuse himself. I see in some forums where they are saying all these problems, even Adani is going to do a good deal with Shiv Shah, issues of Ketrago, issues of the Kenya Airways Authority. All that is going to be okay because Gachagua is the one who has been exposing government secrets. I said, what secrets? You are selling something, you are a middleman, selling your own property to a foreigner. If you wanted to go public in terms of private-public partnership, why don't you call resources from Kenyans? Kenyans can afford. I may not afford millions of shillings, but I can afford 10,000 and I buy a few shares. And in our millions, the money that Adani is supposed to bring, which is about 20-something billion, the rest of the money, actually, they are going to use the airport to mobilize resources to come and renovate the airport. So Adani is not bringing any new money. It's just about 20-something billion. But the rest of the money will come from the airport itself. You see, like me taking your car and telling you this is, well, let's assume you have a bus worth about 8 million. I give you 1 million. I bring 1 million. I say this is now to repair this car. Then I just want to improve the car. I use it, and whatever I get in terms of fare is what I use to renovate the car or to improve the vehicle. Then I will hand over to you after I've already squeezed all the money out of it when the vehicle is obsolete. That is what they are doing. 30 years of a foreigner occupying our airport is going to waste a lot of resources, is going to take away a lot of jobs from our people. So when you blame it on Gachagua, who is next? Who are we going to blame after Gachagua has gone home? Yeah.
Sticking to that economic front, surprisingly, we saw DP Rigathi Gachagua openly acknowledge that during the tenure of the late President Mwai Kibaki, things were working in this country, systems were working, and there was reprieve among citizens and taxpayers at large.
Yeah.
Was that an admission of outright failure of the government of the day?
It is an admission, and it is also a fact. We know Kibaki never directed anybody. Kibaki allowed systems to work. Anytime you went to brief him, you did not need to seek direction from him. You would brief him, then from the questions he has asked, you know which direction you need to pursue the issue. And you get the answers there. That's why I usually say in some questions, therein lies the answer. But at times, we don't listen to the questions to the end. Yeah.
Was really looking at the events now, renting our air in this country, more so in the political and governance front, would you say we are witnessing an artificial death of multi-party democracy in this country?
Yeah, it has come sooner than later. But my prayer is that I still got hope in the young people of this country. They might evict some of these people out of town. I have a lot of hope in them, and I just pray they also don't fall prey to the comfort and the luxury of life. You know, there are many of us, when we are outside there and aspiring to go into position of leadership, we have certain picture we paint on how we want the world, the constituency, the country to be. But when we get into that position, we rest on our laurels and create a feeling that now you have arrived and therefore everybody should have arrived. That is my worry, because I've seen even the altercations among the GNCs themselves is a worrying trend, that these are people who are trying to look for changing the sitting arrangement. I would want us to change the attitude and the table manners, but not changing the sitting arrangement. You chase me and you, then you sit where we are seated, and you behave the way we were behaving, with bad manners around the table.
First addressing the moral question.
Yeah, the issue is the moral issue. And if you are convinced that we are dealing with moral issues under Chapter 6 of the Constitution, then those are issues that we should stick to the end. And that's why if Gachagua was given a fair hearing, it would have been better for Parliament, and I hope Senate will be able to dismiss some of the grounds. Because listening to him, and unless somebody is a genius, he could not have been lying all the things that he said about the wealth that they are saying he has acquired in a short time, where his earnings should be 24 million, as if that's the only source of income that he has, and almost blaming him on how he's handling the estate of his late brother, Governor Rigathi Gachagua. I just listened to him, and on the basis of that, some of those grounds should be dropped. Then you retain the rest, because it is almost subjective. It's not objective to say he has been subordinating the president. Why hasn't the president told him to resign? Because that's the position I think he was holding. The president told him, I'm not happy. You would have resigned without creating this acrimony that is now making us feel the two communities now at default position, where there is mutual suspicion between the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu. And I'm not promoting hate. What I'm just promoting is that, can we be strict with whatever we are saying? Can we really live the life we wanted Gachagua to live in terms of political good manners? Or are we pretending? Appointments that we see every day, you know where they come from. Just look at any government gazette notice coming from State House. Who are they appointing?
The blame has been put on Gachagua that he's even tribal in appointments to state offices.
And who is the final authority? Who has that machine? The government printer.
It could be doublespeak from the side of the president?
A lot of doublespeak. You see, there is no difference if you are picking cronies. You know, there is a tribe, there is also the association, and you give cronies positions they don't even merit. So how can you tell us that you are fair, at the same time you are doing the opposite? Even those guys who are talking, who among them is blameless? Even those members of parliament, if you are to go strictly constituency by constituency, half of them will be in jail.
From the optic, they consider Gachagua to be the master of irregular procurement, conflict of interest in the government of today, and also the person who is using his office for diversionary agenda.
Well, let's wait and see. Yeah. Possibly the verdict must be somewhere there. Perhaps the Senate is dealing with him now, I hope when he goes to the Supreme Court, they will give him fair hearing. Because it's not about Gachagua. For me, it's about the institutions that we have that are supposed to safeguard democracy.
Well, there you have it. That point by former Minister Kipruto Rapkira takes us to the wrap of today's conversation, more specifically on our main subject, looking at Gachagua's impeachment motion, how it went through the National Assembly, and also the steps ahead that it should sail through, and what would likely come out of it in the fullness of time. How about now we cross over to this insightful segment that you all have grown to love, that is Heroes Corner with Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Today, Waziri, on this very sunny afternoon, who is our Shujaa?
Where we go to West Africa.
Really? West Africa?
Yeah, the country called Ghana. And the son was born in June 1947.
Oh, 1947.
1947. He went to local schools and subsequently joined the military as a flight lieutenant. Later on, he was almost committed to the gallows. And there lay the opportunity that he did not get out of jail. He got into the presidency. That is Jerry Rawlings.
Jerry Rawlings?
Rawlings, yes. He led the country as a military person for 2 terms. Then he now went for a popular vote and he won the election for another 2 terms and decided to hand over to civilian rule. That is the discipline that you see now in Ghana. Unfortunately, in 2020, he passed on.
Must be November 2020.
Yeah, I think about November 2020, at the age of 73, he passed on.
But he made a big contribution to Ghana?
To Ghana and also to the continent of Africa, and more so to West Africa. Remember, in West Africa, it is he and Olusegun Obasanjo who were able to transit from military to civilian and create that system that is now still obtaining and reduce the issues of coups and counter coups. That is the legacy that he left to Africa and the rest of the world.
Jerry
Rawlings.
Jerry
he was
Rawlings.
mixed parentage.
Okay.
Yeah. What you people call Jotara here.
Chotara.
Yeah.
But at least even while at it, he did the best for the continent and Ghana.
He did and the world. Yeah.
All right, there you have it. Jerry Rawlings is our hero for today on Heroes Corner with Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Keep us engaged on our social media handles. I'm at Mwenja Richard on X and on TikTok. Get Mheshimiwa at Kiro Official. Engage him there. We wait to see you on our next edition of Richard Mwenja Exclusive and also on Business Glide, our economic show here on the channel. So stay tuned.